Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to do something that's honestly incredibly powerful. We're upgrading our thinking by upgrading our words. And look, this is not about cramming for some test. Nope. This is about building a verbal toolkit, filling it up with sharp, precise, powerful words that let you shape your ideas and share them with total clarity. So, let's get building. So, think of our toolkit as having 5 main trays. First, we're going to stock up on words that just perfectly capture different personalities. Then, we'll grab some tools for taking apart the art of argument. After that, we'll get into the language of change and growth, followed by words that pinpoint specific attitudes and behaviors. And of course, at the end, we'll do a quick review to make sure every new tool is sharp and ready to go.
First up, let's fill that tray for describing people. Having the exact right word can feel like taking a perfect, high-resolution photograph of someone's personality. It just clicks.
Just think about it for a second. We all know these 2 types of people, don't we? You've got the social butterfly who just comes alive in a crowd, and then you have the homebody who's perfectly happy in their own company. Well, you're about to see there are perfect words for both.
For that life of the party person, the word is gregarious. And what's so cool about this word is where it comes from. It's from the Latin word grex, which means flock. So a gregarious person is literally someone who loves being part of the flock, part of the crowd. They just feed off that social energy.
You can picture this person instantly, right? At the center of the conversation, laughing, drawing people in. That right there is the definition of a gregarious individual.
Now, for the total opposite, we have misanthrope. And it's really important to get this. This is so much stronger than just being shy or introverted. An introvert might just need some alone time to recharge, but a misanthrope, they actively dislike humanity. As a whole, it's a really powerful word for a very specific and pretty cynical way of looking at the world. Okay, let's tackle a tricky pair here. These 2 words sound almost the same but mean wildly different things. Complacent, that's someone who's self-satisfied, kind of smug, so content that they just stop trying. Think of a sports team that wins a championship and then gets lazy and loses the next year. They got complacent. But compliant? That means you're eager to please. A compliant person is agreeable, they're happy to go along with what everyone else wants. So one's about smug satisfaction, the other is about cheerful cooperation. Big difference.
All right, let's move on to our second toolkit tray, words for the art of argument. These are the tools that help us tell the difference between a really powerful, well-thought-out point and, just noise.
This is a question we deal with all the time, right? Whether you're reading the news or just talking with friends, is what you're hearing based on logic and evidence, or is it just purely emotional and aggressive? When an argument is strong, it's logical, it's beautifully put together, the word you're looking for is cogent. A cogent argument is built on a solid foundation of facts and clear thinking. It doesn't need to yell. It persuades with its sheer intellectual power. Exactly. Think of a great courtroom movie. A lawyer's cogent argument isn't about shouting at the jury. It's about laying out the evidence and the logic so clearly, so convincingly, that the conclusion feels, well, inevitable. And then, on the complete flip side, you have the diatribe. A diatribe has 0 of the elegance of a cogent argument. It's just a pure rant, a long, bitter, angry verbal attack that's all raw emotion and no logic. Just being able to name it helps you see it for what it is. Okay, next up, let's grab some words that describe the whole process of change. Because everything in life, from an idea to a company to a social movement, it all goes through a cycle of growth. You can really see the whole life cycle of an idea here. It starts out nascent. It's just a little seed, brand new, still developing. Then, if it's a good idea, it starts to burgeon, which means it just grows and flourishes like crazy. And finally, the whole project will culminate in its final, most complete form, reaching its absolute peak. Nascent, burgeon, culminate. A perfect little story of growth in just 3 words. But of course, change isn't always about getting bigger. Sometimes things lessen, they fade away, or they lose their intensity. For that, we have the word abate. A storm can abate, a fever can abate, even public anger can abate. It just means to reduce or diminish. All right, time for our 4th set of tools. Words that capture specific attitudes and human behaviors. These are the words that add some incredible color and detail when we're talking about how people act. Oh, we have all seen, and probably done, something in a perfunctory way. It's when you're just going through the motions. There's no passion, no real care, no actual thought behind it. It's just a task you have to check off a list.
This image says it all, doesn't it? A quick swipe with a duster that just kind of moves the dust around. That is a perfunctory effort, the absolute bare minimum. And yeah, it always shows.
Now, for a totally different kind of behavior, someone who is laconic is a person of few words. They're concise, sometimes so concise they seem blunt. And here's a fun fact, this word actually comes from Laconia, which was the region in ancient Greece where Sparta was. And the Spartans, well, they were famous for being incredibly brief and to the point.
And finally, this is one of my favorites, audacious. This word has such a fascinating double meaning. An audacious plan can be brilliantly bold and original, like a startup with a crazy, world-changing idea. But an audacious person can be so bold that they come across as rude or reckless. With this word, context is everything. It just perfectly captures that high-risk, high-reward kind of behavior.
Okay, we have added some absolutely fantastic tools to our collection. So now it's time for a quick-fire review just to make sure they stick. Let's lock all this in.
Ready? Let's do this. Gregarious, sociable, loves a crowd. Cogent, a logical, convincing argument. Burgeon, to grow really fast. Perfunctory, done without any real care. Laconic, concise, uses few words. And audacious, bold, brave, and sometimes a little reckless. Fantastic! And there you have it, a newly stocked verbal toolkit. Remember, these words aren't just for sounding smart, they're for seeing the world with more detail, with more nuance, and for expressing your own thoughts with more power. So the question I'll leave you with is this: what idea, what feeling, or what argument will you express more clearly today?